Well, let me start by saying that it's below par. Then a lot of work. You see, for a very long time, the administrators have been thinking transport. But we've gone past transport. Transport is part of logistics. Logistics is part of supply chain. It's actually supply chain that we should be thinking at this moment. Because in transport you talk about multimodal, intermodal, but logistics goes beyond that. Because other issues of warehousing and the rest of them coming. But then supply chain emphasizes integration, which is where the world is at the moment. Integration, because if you don't integrate, you cannot optimize. First of all, we don't have a national logistics policy. What we claim to have had is national transport policy. How far that has worked, I do not even know. But the point is that we need to rejig our understanding of what is going on currently. So many governments all over the world are adjusting. The private sector is far ahead, supply chain wise, compared to government. The day you apply supply chain to government services, quality will improve. So there's a lot of work to be done. There's a whole lot of work. I don't even want to talk about infrastructure. Because you need power infrastructure, you need IT infrastructure, then you need physical infrastructure on the road and the rest of it. Then you need soft infrastructure, the quality of people you are producing from your schools. The fact that logistics and supply chain is not common in Nigerian institutions. We're making efforts in that direction now, but that's of course, let's sum it up with our position in the Logistics Performance Index of the World Bank. 110 over 160. That's not encouraging. The biggest challenge is that we make everything look like rocket science. There's no big deal in having a national logistics policy. Even in Africa, so many nations have it. There's no big deal in being deliberate about your infrastructure, knowing fully well. There's no big deal in knowing that if everything is on the road, that the road is going to get bad. So I really don't know. I think it's just political will. Private sector doesn't build infrastructure. You can have some PPPs here and there, but at the end of the day, it's a government responsibility. So that's the way I see it. It's a matter of decision. For example, the Prime Minister of Malaysia said the day they put a highway from the northern part of Malaysia to the southern part of the economy opened. Do you know how much of food perish on a yearly basis? And we're talking about shortage of food and the rest of them. You don't have any cold chain facility, no infrastructure in that direction. You don't have warehouses of international standard. I think it's... So what I'm trying to say is that it is not rocket science. It's, you have the political will, and then you break it down as projects. And over time, it will be over. It doesn't happen overnight. It can't happen overnight. So when you derail, we are trying, but I saw people pushing a drum to go and put fuel in a train. It's absurd. You start wondering what the hell is going on. Because I've not seen that elsewhere, but that's where we find ourselves. That's the kind of people we are. it's just as if you are aware of what African Center for Supply Chain is trying to do. The next publication, the 5th edition of the industry report, is actually the place of supply chain in the success of AFTA. Now, supply chain makes it possible for integration. Today, if you are flying to some African countries, you pass to other countries. Some of them. In fact, we had a job to do in Cape Verde sometime. That job took us 1.5 days, but the whole journey took us 6 days. Because when we finished, we had to wait for when the flight from Cote d'Ivoire will come. That was when our journey home started. Do you understand? So, how do you? Okay, you can't ship anything from Kenya to Nigeria or otherwise without having to send it through Europe. Whatever competitive advantage you have, you lose after that. So that is it. There are no continental highways. There are no coastal shipping lines. Nothing. So I'm folding my hands, keeping my fingers crossed, and see. I mean, since it started, how many transactions have been done? Let's look at the statistics. How many transactions have been done? The truth is that everybody sees it as a fantastic idea. It is indeed. We talk about the 2-something trillion GDP. You talk about 1.4 billion population. Fantastic. These things are not matter of numbers. It's not about numbers. If you don't put the right infrastructures, private sector has done well. I mean, look at people like Kobo 360, currently in about how many African countries? So the private sector have gone ahead in spite of the infrastructural deficit. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but we're hopeful. But again, first things first, and the rest will follow. And you can't do African Continental Free Trade Area when some countries are closing down their borders. What type of free trade is that going to be? So, well, everything in Africa is hidden under political will, whatever that means in English. I think we signed the agreement. I don't think it will take a while, because when the executive secretary came out and said, well, that people should not expect wonders to be done, I just laughed, because that should have been said at the beginning. Well, I think by now most of house owners in Apapa have relocated to somewhere else as a result of what we saw. Well, the unfortunate ones who relocated close to that very particular area will probably have to relocate again. It is when it happens, then we see it, we cry. Because I understand that the governor said that the rail line is not in the master plan. It's all grammar. Reality is that you built a port. They don't build ports in one day. You know, they don't build ports in one day. You have gigantic projects. Largest refinery in the world, largest this fertilizer in the world, largest this in the world, in that place. And then you leave it until the projects are being commissioned. And then you remember that the rail line is not in the master plan. I don't know. A lot of planlessness. And I think the challenge is in the fact that we do not measure. It's just, we just keep going. We never stop to ask ourselves how far. That's where the problem is. But those who live in that axis will get ready. The best way is not to allow yourself to get to the quagmire. Because once you get there, you are in a hurry to take off the business. You won't see clearly any longer because you have spent so much money on the project. You won't see clearly. It's not the best time to think about the solution, but you probably perform wonders. But the fact is that it is not the best time. After a project is ready, commissioned, then it's at that time that we are thinking of what to do about because the environmental analysis and the rest of them have been done. All this ought to have or must have shown up.
That's true.
So I don't know how it's going to be solved. It's like anything that is, the people who will operate it are Nigerians. By that I mean the stakeholders, those who are operating the system, those who will use the system, and the rest of them. We need attitudinal change in this country. We need attitudinal change. If you are driving on the road, you see traffic where there shouldn't be any. What is the reason? Because the policeman is not standing there to wave hand, or the soldier is not there with a whip. That is it. So it was bound to have the teething challenges of technology and the rest of them. I think it did ease traffic for some time, but has it met the objective? I do not think so. But some steps have been taken forward which we can improve on. Big lessons that if we automate, we can improve a whole lot of things. Okay. Even inside the port itself. Inside the port itself, and like that call-up system. Brilliant idea. Let's even look out of government. I can hit my chest and boast that about 3,000 logistics professionals have passed through my system. That's only me, only us, only multi-links, only multi-links. There have been pockets of us here and there. Government have an institute, but it's a civil service It's a civil service organization, so you work like civil service. That is it. So government, only recently that we started discussing at NUC level about introducing logistics and supply chain management degrees, and then some international agencies are funding introduction of master's degrees in logistics and supply chain in universities, and I happen to be deeply involved in all this. So that is the only thing. But if you see, you can't give what you don't have, and you can't implement what you do not understand. That is where the challenge is. That is where the challenge is. We need a mind shift from thinking transport, and know that if we continue there, the world has actually left us behind. The more we are waiting, the farther they go from us. So in terms of that, at the private sector level, a lot has been done. At government level, they are waking up now. If you run a system where there's no control of anything, what do you expect? There's no control. In Rwanda now, if you don't have a BSc in theology, you can't open a church. Here, what you see is that people wake up from a bad dream and say that God has called them, and then they start a church. So that is where the problem is. That's where the problem is. There's a way of in multi-mix, for example, we have at least 6-7 international organizations that we represent. If we didn't meet, including a foreign university, if we didn't meet their, because the world has become a flat place, flat ground. The world is flat. Specifications have no difference. For this is for third world country, or this is for fourth world country, or first world country. No. If you don't meet it, you fall out. But the problem here is that those specifications do not exist. Nothing is regulated. If you have enough money to buy 911, you become a transporter. You hit the road. No place to register. Nothing. So that's where the challenge is. About the proliferation, we happen to have pioneered this. And I can say I thank God that after pioneering and leading, we are still here and leading. The reason is the standard we have kept. And somewhere people were at that point saying, you guys don't have competitors. I said, no, the competitors will come. And they did come. And when my people started panicking, I said, my friend, let's wait a few more years and see. And of course, a lot of them fell by the wayside. Because if they're not offering quality, you can only deceive the people for some time. So that's what is saving people now. What is saving people now is that those charlatans are dropping off on their own. There are still some who, of course, there are new ones who come, but it's for how long they will be around that is this thing. We have, our sister organization, African Center for Supply Chain, in collaboration with Multimix, publishes the only Nigerian logistics and supply chain industry report, and this has happened for 5 years consistently. The only year we didn't publish was the COVID year. So it's people should open their eyes and know what they are looking for, and also look at the past records of the people that you want to deal with. They say, show me your friends and I can tell you exactly who you are. That's what you should guide those who are looking for courses. There was one particular one that came, everybody was rushing there. Some people were rushing there. I was just laughing. But eventually they all ended up here to come and take some courses. You understand what I'm saying?